Breaking news. The Justice for Mang Long movement is at a critical crossroads. For months, you have followed the journey, demanding answers, seeking truth, and waiting for the moment when everything would finally come to light. But now, something has shifted. This is not just about what happened before. It is about what is happening right now, in real time, and what is being done to ensure that justice finally takes its rightful place. Stay here. Watch closely. Because what you are about to discover could change everything. It started quietly, almost like a whisper on the wind. One post. One message. One small spark of hope that refused to die out. Fans began to notice things that didn't add up. Questions that were ignored. Stories that were buried before they had a chance to breathe. Yu Menglong's sudden disappearance from the spotlight had left millions wondering what really went wrong. But now, months later, that silence has turned into something louder than ever before. It has become a movement. A wave. A call for truth that no one can ignore anymore. People from every corner of the world have come together. Fans, reporters, even former colleagues. Everyone has a piece of the story, and slowly, those pieces are starting to form a picture no one was ready to see. Messages once hidden are now being shared. Leaked conversations, unseen footage, private notes written in the late hours of the night, all telling the same story. Something happened to Yu Menglong, and the truth has been carefully kept from the public. The movement began with the hashtag that spread like wildfire. Justice for Mang Long. It appeared everywhere, on every social platform, in every language. Fans refused to stay quiet. They organized online vigils, trending events, digital protests, and countless live discussions. Every post carried the same energy, the same fire. People were done waiting. They wanted answers. They wanted action. And finally, someone listened. A close friend of Mang Long's, who had stayed silent for months, finally came forward. They revealed that there were conversations being held behind closed doors, that certain people were trying to control the narrative, that what had been presented to the public was only a fraction of what really went on. The details shook everyone. It wasn't just about fame anymore. It was about integrity, truth, and what happens when one voice dares to challenge the system around it. Fans flooded the comment sections, their emotions raw and unfiltered. Some were angry, some were heartbroken, and some were simply confused. But what united them was their determination to keep the conversation alive. They refused to let this become another forgotten headline. They began collecting evidence, archiving interviews, translating statements, piecing together timelines that others had overlooked. They were doing what entire media networks failed to do. They were protecting the truth. Behind the scenes, people who once worked with Mang Long began to speak out in cryptic messages. A director posted a simple quote, saying, "Sometimes silence speaks louder than truth." Another crew member wrote, "Some lights are too bright, and that's why they try to turn them off." Those words ignited new speculation. Was Yu Menglong silenced for a reason? Was his disappearance a result of something bigger than anyone realized? Then came the breaking moment. A short clip leaked online. It showed Yu Menglong on set, days before he vanished from the public eye. In it, his tone was calm but heavy, his expression distant. He said one line that stopped everyone who heard it. "If I disappear one day, tell them I tried." That single sentence tore through the internet like a storm. Fans replayed it endlessly, searching for meaning, analyzing every breath, every pause. What had he been trying to say? In the weeks that followed, major media outlets began picking up the story. Talk shows, interviews, and online publications started asking the same question. Where is Yu Menglong now, and who is responsible for what happened to him? Each new discovery seemed to open another door, revealing deeper layers of a mystery that no one could fully explain. But one thing became clear: the movement was no longer just about one person. It had grown into a symbol. A fight for fairness, honesty, and the right to be heard. Celebrities who had once stayed silent started speaking up. Some shared photos, others shared quotes, a few even mentioned Mang Long directly. One of his closest co-stars posted a short message that read, "The world may forget, but we won't." That message trended worldwide in less than an hour. People began organizing candlelight gatherings in front of studios, creating digital memorials, and donating to causes linked to artists' mental and emotional health. But not everyone supported the movement. Certain voices tried to silence it, saying that fans were going too far, that it was all exaggerated, that people should move on. Yet, each attempt to quiet the movement only made it louder. More determined. More united. For the followers of Justice for Mang Long, it was never about drama or gossip. It was about truth. Recently, new documents surfaced, suggesting that there were ongoing investigations behind the scenes. Meetings were reportedly taking place, discussions were happening between agencies, and sources claimed that something significant would soon be revealed. But no one knows what it will be. And that's where we are now. At the edge of revelation. The movement stands stronger than ever, waiting for that one moment that could change everything. If you've been following this story from the beginning, this is the moment that matters most. Do not turn away now. Share this story. Speak up. Keep the movement alive. Because silence is what allowed this to happen, and silence is what they are counting on. Yu Menglong may not be here to speak for himself, but millions are speaking for him. Every post, every video, every comment, every voice matters. The Justice for Mang Long movement is more than a trend. It is a statement. A demand for truth that refuses to fade away. And as the days go by, one thing remains clear: the truth always finds a way to rise. Stay tuned, because the next update could change everything. If you believe in truth, in courage, in standing for what is right, then don't just scroll past. Like this, share it, and make sure your voice is part of the wave. Because this story is not over. It's just beginning. Part 2. Justice for Mang Long, the final chapter. The night after the press conference hung heavy over the city. Reporters had gone quiet, cameras dimmed, and the once roaring crowd of fans slowly faded into the distance. But inside that silence, Dylan sat by the window, his hands trembling slightly as he watched the faint light of the moon drift across the glass. Bailu was next to him, eyes red, voice faint but steady. She whispered that this fight was no longer about fame or image, it was about the truth that had been buried for too long. They had promised Mang Long once that no matter what came, they would protect his name. Now, that promise felt heavier than ever. Across the city, posters with the words "Justice for Mang Long" covered every corner, flickering in the wind as though the world itself refused to forget him. Fans wrote letters, strangers lit candles, and people who had never met him spoke of his kindness, his laughter, his quiet strength. The movement had grown beyond what anyone imagined. When Dylan finally spoke, his voice cracked. He said that for the first time, he was scared. Not of losing his career, not of public judgment, but of never finding peace. Bailu reached for his hand and reminded him that peace was never found by staying silent. She told him they had to finish what Mang Long started. They had to bring light to the truth that had been kept in the dark. Days later, an old message surfaced online, an unseen recording of Mang Long speaking during a private rehearsal. His voice was calm, filled with quiet conviction. He said that no matter what people thought of him, he wanted his story to remind others that kindness mattered, that standing up for what is right meant more than any spotlight. That single clip spread like wildfire. People from all over the world shared it, quoting his words, creating a wave of emotion that shook the internet. The movement was alive again, stronger than ever. Dylan and Bailu attended a memorial event, standing before a sea of flickering lights. Fans held banners, some crying softly, others holding hands in silence. When Dylan stepped up to speak, his voice was heavy with emotion. He thanked everyone who had refused to let Mang Long's name disappear. He said the truth was not only about what happened, but about what people chose to do after it. He said that Mang Long's spirit lived on through the millions of hearts that still believed in justice and kindness. Bailu followed, her voice trembling but clear. She said she had read Mang Long's final note, a letter he left behind, never meant for the world to see. In that letter, he wrote that the most important thing in life was to love without fear, to forgive without regret, and to speak truth even when your voice shakes. She paused, looked at the crowd, and said those words were meant for everyone standing there. The silence that followed was overwhelming. Some fans sobbed, others closed their eyes, whispering his name. It was as if for a single moment, the entire world stopped to listen. That was the moment the movement transformed from anger to healing. It was no longer about revenge. It was about remembering the goodness that Mang Long left behind. Weeks later, Dylan returned to set for a new drama, but something in him had changed. Every scene he filmed carried an echo of Mang Long's spirit, a reflection of the quiet strength he once admired. Lu began visiting schools, speaking to young artists about integrity, courage, and staying true to one's heart. The Justice for Mang Long movement became a foundation dedicated to supporting struggling actors and spreading awareness about compassion in the industry. Months passed, and though the world moved on, the memory never faded. On the anniversary of Mang Long's passing, Dylan and Lu met once again at the same place it all began. They stood beneath the same cherry blossom tree, now covered in ribbons and letters from fans around the world. Dylan placed a small white flower at the base and whispered that justice had finally been served in the way Mang Long would have wanted, not with anger, but with love and remembrance. The wind carried their voices softly into the night. The cameras were gone, the noise had quieted, but the feeling remained. Somewhere in that stillness, it felt as though Mang Long was watching, smiling gently, proud that the people he loved had finally found peace. And as the final words appeared on the screen, the message was clear: justice is not just a fight for truth, it's a promise to never forget. So if this story touched your heart, don't scroll away. Subscribe now, and join the growing movement of people who believe that even in fiction, truth and kindness can still change the world. Because this isn't just a story, it's a reminder that love, loyalty, and justice never truly fade.